First Sense Friday. How's your first sense doing? How you feeling? You working with your intuition? Are you allowing it to help you? How has your week been? Holy moly, the energy this week was a bit chaotic. It felt like everything was spinning about 1,000 miles an hour and yet feeling like it was standing still. So it was similar to the days where I have more than one coffee and I'm like, ah, and yet feel like I'm sitting in I don't know, a pool of wet cement. So if you felt this week like you were, well, the statement I was using yesterday was, I'm going to lose my shit. Oh no, Wednesday. That was Wednesday. Yesterday was okay. But if you were feeling that way this week, we can attribute some of it to the energy. And I know Mercury's going direct, but we all know how I feel about that adorable little bugger. I think he helps us. Although I truly believe we can be affected by the planets, I think when we get into the blame game, we hand over power and we don't therefore hold it for ourselves. Or accountability, because so many people are like, well, it went down because of this, or this happened because of Mercury. Well, maybe you didn't back up your computer. Maybe that's the issue. So I have to admit, I had a moment when my website crashed on Wednesday that I was thinking, Mercury, is this you? And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to join the masses that, well, the part of the masses that say that if we have any technological issues, that it increases during Mercury retrograde. Um, so I hope that even if your week has been a little bit like, I don't even know how to describe it. Honestly, I was trying to think of it before I logged on, and it's like, I don't know, being on steroids, but being trapped down to a table. Like you can't get anywhere. I don't know if you've ever had to do an inhaler. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had the pleasure of being reminded of that thing I used 3 or 4 years ago. And every time I would do the dose, and I usually wait till the last minute, but every time I would do it, I'd wait because like 5 minutes later, I'd be like, ah, and I already have enough. We don't need to be adding to it. So I hope your week was a little bit calmer. When the energy is like this, whatever practices you have in place already, you need to be employing them, maybe kicking it up a notch. So where are your grounding practices? I was saying to a friend the other day, just take a breath, get back in that body, because it's challenging enough to feel like you're flying around the stratosphere. But if you don't have the practices in place, it's going to add to that feeling of chaos. So if you have some already hardwired, the beauty of that reticular activating system is if there's something in there, it will go get it in those moments. So whether it's taking a breath, going for a walk, doing a grounding exercise, I have been playing musicals and any power songs that I could possibly think of so I could belt them out. They weren't always pretty with the voice that's been lately, but that's okay. It's just about moving the energy. And the frequency that's been in the last about week and a half could definitely contribute to a feeling of being overwhelmed. And that's actually what today's subject is going to be about, because I was going to tie it to the blog that comes out in about an hour, but you know what? We need to cover this because I want everybody to go into their Friday afternoon, their evening, with a little bit more sense of stability and playfulness, and just, oh, I think I'm going to survive, even if, oh, you can belt that out too. That's a good song too. to clear some cobwebs. So whenever we're feeling overwhelmed, my theory is, I don't have a whole laboratory to back this up, but I've seen it in so many people, and especially in myself. It has the feeling of overwhelmed. There's just too much. Usually comes with the word "too" in front of it. There's too much to do. Everything's too hard. People are too cranky, too mean, whatever. It's the "to this, to that" syndrome. So when you add that extra little zero, because grammatically that's what it's supposed to be. So please know your two and twos. So when you add that extra zero, it seems to add more power to things. So if you watch your words or listen to your words, you don't have to watch them, but listen to your words. And if you find yourself saying, I'm just too tired, or I'm just too this, or it's too hard, or too, just pause and ask yourself, is it really? Are you going for the Oscar? Have you made it too dramatic? And added an extra zero for emphasis, because that adrenaline rush that comes from the two family can sometimes fulfill our need for attention. That is it's like the subconscious part of all this, right? There's an energetic component when we're feeling overwhelmed. And a lot of the times I will see this, especially with those of us that may or may not at one point in our life be considered type A. So with the capital sinking letter, and proud of it, man. But I find that a lot of the times the feeling of overwhelmment is actually coming because some part of our knowledge or our growth, our soul growth, has already expanded and it's up ahead. And if you've ever run with somebody who's faster than you are, it can feel, well, that can feel overwhelming, because you're not only trying to keep up, you're trying not to pass out. So what I find is like somebody's soul self, everything you've been asking for, that whole ask, believe, receive thing, everything that you've been asking for and believing, and hopefully doing some consideration around, and haven't allowed your human self to catch up with it. So maybe you haven't allowed yourself to feel like it's possible. And maybe you just need to slow your roll, take a breath. I love that expression. Take a breath and ask yourself, is it really this big? Does something really need to be done now? I am of the belief that unless it's CPR or somebody's bleeding out or something equally traumatic, there really isn't a need to do it right now. So, but our wiring has been taught and such that we go there, and I do think it's a habit. So if you consider that when you have this feeling of there's just so much going on and I am going to lose my stuffing, if you hardwire in there a habit of checking in to say, well, wait a minute, I heard one time on this Facebook Friday First Sense thing, this chick talking about the fact that maybe it's because my soul has already gone there and I've evolved to that place, but I'm not letting my human self get there. And I see this a lot in people. You know, a lot of the times they'll come in and tell me they're not capable of this or that, and I'm looking at them going, I don't know who you're talking about, because they must not have come to this appointment. And I don't blow smoke. I'm not going to give you a line that you're all that and amazing if I don't think it's there, because that's not fair either. So if you consider the fact that your intelligent self, my couch is very squishy and I keep sinking even further. Welcome to my home. So if you if you feel that, if you would give yourself just a moment of, oh, sweet. I may not know exactly where I've evolved to, and I may not have arrived there yet, but some part of me did. So if I take the energy that I've been putting into freaking out about things and I slide it over into the category of inspiration, I number one, don't have to bite other people's heads off because things are feeling like too much. But I can be proud of myself because we're going to always have things to do. Like 10 minutes ago, there were 3 loads of laundry on my chaise lounge in the living room. And if you know me well, you know my laundry goes straight from the dryer, folded, put away. Took years of practice to get there, but that's what it does. I don't even own a laundry basket anymore because I realized once I got rid of that puppy, I actually put clothes away. So the trick is walking past the chair in the bedroom so you don't put it there. However, I have an indication within myself that if laundry is not immediately put away, I'm feeling overwhelmed. We have indications. We have little tells or bells that go off that if you're willing to take the inventory, if I'm craving Doritos, that means that I am beyond and probably not fit for human interaction. And I have to work out. I have to do a meditation. I have to clean my whole place because that always helps me feel better. And there's always hay. That rabbit's a slob. So what's your tell? Like, what's the indication? And I will not take I'm bitchy to others as a tell. That's just poor manners. And that's not knowing yourself well enough to know that you've crossed over a line. If you're being mean or bitchy or inappropriate with others, that's your issue. That is not because you're overwhelmed. That's because you're being rude. So dial that back, allow yourself to pay attention. Mostly you do have to catch it when you're feeling that heightened self, but you could ask yourself these things when you're in a quiet moment. They're just much more evident when you're about to lose your stuffing. So when I have my awarenesses, and sometimes it's a scheduling thing, sometimes you just get behind on stuff and that's fine, but it's being aware of what is there that adds to your feeling of I just can't do all of this, because most of the time it's the story we're telling in our head. So become aware. What's your tell? How do you know you're starting to arrive in that place of anxiousness or overwhelmment? Pay attention to it, because you can dial it back, and then it becomes so rare that it may take moments of going, what is this feeling? And I had that on Tuesday. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why do I feel like everything's going 1,000 miles an hour and yet I'm not moving anywhere? Kind of like when you have that bungee strap on you in the gym and you're like doing this and you're trying to get away from it and it snaps you back to the wall. It's actually very fun. You just have to make sure you don't go through the wall. So once you figure out your tell, once you know what that is, then you start backing it up and you start looking sooner and sooner to, I can feel that feeling starting to come up in me. Maybe I'm feeling a little restless. Maybe I'm having a hard time falling asleep, or normally I nod right off. So you get to where you dial it back so far that you catch it the minute it starts to bubble. And I'm certainly not 100% effective at this at all, because it's still human and working on my process, but it's nowhere near where it used to be. And what I would love is for people to flow through all of these emotions and yet realize that you don't have to wind yourself up. So one of the ways that I balance all of this is, as soon as I start feeling like, or I start hearing those messages, you know, the ones that say, you can't do this, there's not enough time, people aren't cooperating, all of those phrases that come up through the critic. As soon as I start hearing those, I take a moment at the next moment I have, and I sit with, there is nothing better than a good old legal pad. Sit down with your pen, and I just wrote this 10 minutes ago. Let me see if I can get it. These are all, look, poop cleanup, number 1 in the household. I put the household stuff on one side. This is very hard to do in the mirroring. And what needs to be done today. And then over here, this is all the business stuff that's due by the time I pack that bag to leave for a day. So when you have a practice of doing this, I've tried every other method. I have tried electronic, I've tried the Rocket Book, I've tried a journal, everything. You have to figure out what works for you. There are certainly enough organizational things out there. My system calms right down as soon as I grab a legal pad. You can get 12 of them for $10 on Amazon. And as soon as I grab that and I write it all out, my heart rate goes down. I feel like I can manage something. And then I don't go in order. So this stuff that's here that I'll be doing after my sessions are done today, it's not going to be in order. I'll look down and I'll grab whatever one is annoying me the most. And that's a way to tie into that first sense. Whatever one's irritating me on this list will get completed first. I can get behind the idea of doing something that will only take 10 seconds or a minute and then it's complete. Okay, if your brain works that way, go that way. But for me, since everything gets perceived energetically before it gets perceived cognitively, if I ignore whatever one's bugging me there, then I'm not going to do a good job on the rest of it. Like when, hey Deb, when I clean my space, the kitchen has to be clean or I can't move on to other things. And it's not that I can't pick up. It's just if I'm doing the full thing, I just like starting in the kitchen. There's energy there. There's vibrancy. And the energetic correlation is fire, right? So it brings up energy. If you clean your kitchen first, you have energy to do the rest of it. So for those who came in the middle, we were talking about how the energy was a little the last couple weeks, and it's creating a feeling of overwhelmment. But you know what? That's going to be in life, and managing it and learning how to even appreciate it, because you can use it to inspire other areas. So this week I had 4 very hard workouts, and that's because this was spinning, and I needed to really push my physical self because it also stops this from spinning. And I think also being kind to yourself and saying, you know, one of the statements I use out of humor is, I'm never going to get it all done. I'm eternal. So even if I think I'm going to get the laundry done in this lifetime, I'm assuming we're not going to be walking around all nakedly in the next lifetime. I'm still going to have laundry then. Maybe it will put itself away by then, or we'll have droids or something that'll do that for us. But it helps to calm the amygdala and that fight or flight where we have to get out. So if we can have a little bit of compassion and then look at everything that you are managing and a little bit of kudos to you in the same practice of get out of the drama and out of the story. The counterpart, the lovely counterpart to that is, wow, look what I did to do today. And that's one of the benefits of writing out a list, because I don't cross out or scratch it all up. I highlight. So because then you can see through it, and when it's highlighted, when you complete something, everything on your list needs a happy dance. You have to do some kind of happy dance. It's my rule. So if you're coaching with me, you have to do a happy dance afterwards, because that reinforces that it does feel fun to accomplish things. It does feel fun. Hang on, I can't get my shoulder. To have goals. Good sweat. I didn't even plan this. Well, some part of me probably did. It's just really soft and comfy. So thank you all for joining. I'm so happy to see all of you today. And it makes my day when I get to see your names pop up, and those whose names don't pop up, hi. And I appreciate it. Podcast is going live Wednesday. I recorded 3 more episodes yesterday. And you'll be able to, wherever you subscribe to podcasts, I'll be sending the link out probably 400 times. Don't get tired of me, but subscribe once. That's all you have to do. And it'll show up on your device. And wherever you subscribe to podcasts, it's called Intuition, Your First Sense. And the first 2 episodes will drop on Wednesday. And then each subsequent Wisdom Wednesday, they will show up there. And it's a little bit like, I don't know, Vicky to go. It's got examples of what your intuition even is, how to name it, how to claim it, how to work with it, some examples of how it may show up in your life. And then as I work through the subsequent podcasts, there will be some exercises that you can do if you so choose. Also coming up in the next couple days, hopefully. It's on the list, so hopefully it's coming up. I'm also going to be throwing out a virtual Vicky promotion, because as I move my business more and more virtual, I want to encourage those mostly in the area. Anybody who's worked with me virtually already does it, but those in the area to see that it's really no different. The hugs are a little different, but I still send them out than coming to me in person. So there'll be a promotion going out about that as soon as I put it together and send it out. So thank you so much for tuning in. The energy this weekend does still feel a little bouncy, but it's supposed to be gorgeous. So get outside, start thinking about what your gardens will look like. I don't have to do yard work this year. So excited. Don't call me. I'm not going to help you with your yard work. I'll put your laundry away, but I'm not going to help you with your yard work. And thank you all so much for being such a part of my life. So have a good weekend. Bye.